Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Mindful SRNA. I am so excited to have a special guest here, Brett Fellows, and we are going to be talking about money, finances, all the things. So whether you're thinking about CRNA school, worried about funding it, whether you're going to graduate, whether you're drowning in debt, we're going to talk to y'all today. So I'm really excited to have him here. Brett is a CFP, certified financial planner, which I cannot stress enough how crucial it is to have a CFP in your life as a nurse and eventually as a CRNA, super helpful. I also want to mention that I was on his podcast, so I will link that in the show notes as well, so you can go check out his platform. He had me on there as a guest and answered a really helpful question for me since I just kind of switched from W-2 to 1099 as a CRNA. So definitely check that out, and I will link that below. But Brett, I want to just say really quick, as I was reading through your bio, I love that you said, essentially Brett helps CRNAs, our unique financial planning needs. But I love that you said, so you can retire on your terms. Can you speak to that a little bit? What do you mean by that when you say that?
Well, as I think I mentioned to you, and thank you for having me today, Amanda.
Yes.
It is leaving our profession, whatever that may be, at some point in time is inevitable. So, how do you do it on your own terms? I mean, we're all busy. We all have young children and then raise those children, and then they're moving and work and our profession. And before you know it, you're 25 years in, and especially if you have a high-paying, high-stress career like CRNAs, thinking about that or planning about that or strategizing that when you want to stop or when do you want to make work optional on your terms, is really hard to do when you're that far into it. So it is just kind of what I love to do. It's what I've always done. I love the idea of money. I love the idea of health. And then how do you tie those two together so that you can balance everything that makes the most sense for you? So I know I kind of skirted over that, but hopefully that gives you a good idea from 30,000 feet.
Yes, I love that. And tell us just a little bit about you. Like, tell us about you, how you got started, your company, and why work with CRNAs.
Yeah, so that's an interesting question. It was a second career for me. I started in 1996. Got an owner. Well, started a company in the golf industry, and so this was in Boston, Massachusetts, and we were just 20 minutes north of the city. And this was the year. The year 1996 is important to know because that year there was a gentleman by the name of Tiger Woods who turned professional, and you may have heard of him. So the golf industry just went absolutely crazy for like the next 10 years. And so we were at the right place at the right time, had a very successful business, but we had a business. This was the golf industry. We didn't own the land, and land was the key to everything. You fast forward to 2003, 2004, golf as an industry went completely down and real estate started to go up. And so we basically lost the lease where our cash cow was. So we had just started having children then, and the winters were horrible. And so our next option, we had a few facilities, was for me to move up to further in New England, and I just wasn't going to do that. And so I said, you know what, I've got 10 years of experience managing money and some decent people skills from the golf industry. So I think I want to get into financial planning. And so that was 2005, and we moved to Charleston, South Carolina, because I figured everybody's going to move to the South and retire. And so we moved here and didn't know a soul and opened up Oak Capital Advisors, which was the wrong thing to completely do, but it worked out being great. It took a long time. And my premise was that, I had been an owner of a company and I was forced to retire, if you will. We ran out, we didn't own the lease, so it was not on my terms. So what I wanted to do was take the knowledge I had and the experience I had and help, if you will, either be small business owners or W-2 earners kind of do that same type of thing. You fast forward to 2022 and the business has gone fine, but we hit kind of a ceiling of complexity, meaning I have clients who own hair salons. I have clients who are engineers. I have clients who are retired. and they all pose different problems. So when we're preparing for a meeting, we actually have to prepare different stuff because everybody has different issues. And that just created a lot of complexity. So we said, okay, moving forward, we're only going to work with the same type of client. So who is our ideal client? And through about 12 months of just deep dive research, both for me and for our clients, it's my client, Angie. And she's a CRNA, and she came to us. She was 50. She was burnt out. Same type of thing. She had $1 million saved. She did a great job. She made great money, but she had no idea how or when she could kind of make work optional. And so just going through that whole 10-year process with her, it was just like, gosh, if I could have all Angie's, this would be who I would want to work with. And as I did my own deep dive, just the type of person that CRNAs generally are, they're a little bit type A, they're planning, they're strategic, they like to give, they take care, they're family stewards, they care more about creating for the next generation than just them today. So just all those things started to tie together. And at the same time, I have two daughters, were oddly enough in nursing school. And
Yay.
so as I learned from my oldest, who's now an ER nurse in Charlotte, North Carolina, just understanding nursing. And so it just kind of like one day just hit me as like nursing, my CRNA client, my daughters. I have no idea. I know nothing about nursing. And then I just spent about 3 months doing a deep dive into CRNAs specifically. There's 61,000, and like what you do, they don't teach money. In CRNA school, so it's not uncommon. And I couldn't find a lot of people in this industry who specifically just help CRNAs. And so that's what we did. We said, forget this. We are just going to work with only one new client moving forward. And we started podcast Money RX for CRNAs, which thank you. You were our first guest on, which was great. And so that's really, we kicked this off in January of this year. And this is our goal is to become the number one trusted advisor in this space when it comes to planning with money. So hope that makes sense.
Yes, I'm like so much I want to unpack here. That was so good. I first just want to talk about like literally you pivoting. Like I think your story is amazing at how right time, right place. I was in the golf, all of this stuff. And then I just like to see that evolution of like things changed and you had to shift, like you just kept shifting, you just kept pivoting, you just kept moving. And that's what I'm always telling, my audience and future CRNAs is like, you got to keep pivoting. You never know where you're going to end up. You got to kind of keep going no matter what. So I love the fact that you went through all of that. And again, all of your experience that led you to here counts, right? Like everything that we do to kind of get to where we're going to end up, it all counts. So I just want to like just mention that and just say that's amazing that you just kept rebuilding, right? You just rebuilt and like went for it and look where you're ending up. And I can speak for a lot of us is like, we really do need help financially, because we'll talk about that in a little bit, but it is hard to go, like I call it 0 to hero. When you get out of school, you go from literally, you guys know my story. I started off CRNA school broke. I had nothing. My friend had to loan me money while she was in CRNA school from her loans to help me get the apartment. I started off on a really bad foot. And so that's why I think it's just so important to be having this conversation right now, wherever you guys are at in your journey. And the other thing I just want to touch on really quick is I like that you said that CRNAs are really focused on, I think, wealth building now, like not kind of this just get rich, but this like wealth building. And there's so many people, I can just come to mind, CRNAs on Instagram that are literally, doing real estate things or, doing locums work. And just, there's so many ways you can kind of flex and diversify your income. So I think that's really key. And that's where I think a lot of CRNAs want to go is like, CRNA is an amazing career, but it's also not the glass ceiling either. Like there's so many other ways to diversify your portfolios and stuff like that. So I think that's super cool that you touched on that.
Thank you.
No, thank you. So question, let's just start kind of at the beginning. So you have a nurse you know, you have a nurse who's making about, you know, I don't know, anywhere from maybe 60 to 80K. I know if you take assignments, you know, they've been doing six figures, whatever it may be. There's a big range.
Sure.
If someone is thinking about CRNA school, what would kind of your advice be for them financially, preparing for six figures of debt, which is CRNA
Yeah.
school?
Yeah, it's the debt. That's the big scary part. And to be brave enough to take that on, I use it, or I will explain it. And I think everything starts with what we call 50-30-20. So any type of, nobody likes to budget. I hate budgets. I'm a financial planner. I hate budgets. It means it's restrictive, it's terrible. But there's some math to this. It is 2024. And so 50-30-20, if you take nothing else away, it's just manage your money as 50-30-20. So what does that mean? Anything you make, you should be putting away 20%. So that's the 20 right there. On the other side of the ledger, there's the 50%. That should be your fixed costs. So if you've got rent, if you've got health, mortgage, if you've got car payments, whatever it might be, that should all be covered in the 50%. And then the 30% is kind of somewhere in the middle, meaning that's kind of the discretionary. That's the stuff that you're choosing to do, whether it's go out to eat or go on a vacation or what have you. So 20% is save, 30% is discretionary, 50% is fixed. Now, is it ever that perfect? Absolutely not. And especially when you're starting, it's going to be like 95-3-2 or something, which is fine. But it's the 20 that's the most important part. And so, meaning if you can just get in that mindset, we think money is not about what you know, it's about how you behave. So we all can behave enough to put the 20 away. It's just whether or not we make the decision to do it, right? I mean, money is not a science. It's behavior. But if you can do that, and it doesn't matter where you start. So if you are just thinking about CRNA school, whenever you take on those loans, you need, let's say you are getting to that 20%, all of that 20% should be going towards those student loans. It should not be going towards retirement. It should not be going towards buying a car or something along those lines. So just there's a lot of nuance to it, and everybody's situation is different. And however long it takes to pay off using that 20%, so be it. That's okay. But I promise you, I've seen thousands and thousands of pocketbooks, and for 20 plus years, 25 years, if you just live off of a 50-30-20 mindset, you will be okay. CRNAs make enough money that they can pay off that debt. CRNAs make enough money that they can retire comfortably when that is, but retirement's way down the road, so let's just leave that alone. But you make enough money that you'll be able to handle that debt, again, if you behave the 50-30-20.
I love that. And I hope you guys all hear him, because trust me, when I was at the end of my training, my bank account was negative, because essentially you finish school, the loans stop, you have to take boards, then you have to get credentialed in so it takes like a few months. So I had my bank account was overdrafted. I had maxed out my credit cards. I was living on these little gas cards that I had got for my credit card points. But I just want you to it was not pretty. I passed boards. I was a CRNA, but I couldn't start working yet. And I just remember sitting in Boston in this gross studio apartment and just crying, because I'm like, this is it? This is my life. But you said something so key, is that you guys will be okay. It's a lot of debt. It's 3 years of your life. Absolutely. I am okay now. And so I just want you to hear what he said. We do make enough money. You can work as little, as much as you want. There's so many options out there. You guys will be okay and be able to pay that debt back. But once again, behavior, right? It's all about behavior. But he also said another key word is mindset too, around money. So Brett, can you go into that a little bit about the psychology of money mindset? I feel like depending on how people have grown up or what they've seen, this can be a tough one for people.
Yeah, no, and you're right. And I am a certified financial planner. What that means is 98% of my time is dealing with psychology of people, and 2% is technical. So what I do has nothing technical at all. It's really basically helping people with how they behave around money. And so the psychology of money is this: there's, two things that impact us all more than anything else in our lives. That's health and money. Now, if you think about it, think of health industry, your world, think of how much that's progressed. Let's just say the last 20 years. The things that health offers us, doctors are changing how they think about, taking care of people. And we're all going to live longer because of it. Now, think of money over the last 20, 30 years. Money industry, so financial services, banking, investing, they have stolen the smartest minds from the top universities, if you think about it, for 50 years. But has it taught us to behave any differently about money over the last 50, 30, 20 years? No, not really. So we've had all this progress in the health industry. We have no progress in the money industry. And we're not taught about money. Like we mentioned, you're not taught about money in a school. So to give ourselves some grace here too, none of it, we're expected to be experts or be good with money, but frankly, our parents didn't ever talk to us about it. We're not taught it in school, and we've got the top minds in the world, and it's not progressing how we behave with money. So really, at the end of the day, it's okay that you're not great with money or that you don't, but it's you. Too often people then think, well, then I'm not smart with money, or money is about math and science. But it's not. It's about nuance. It's about, again, like I mentioned, it's behavior. I think inherently we all know to not spend more than we make, but it's hard to get us to do that. It's hard to get us to live that mindset. So, give yourself grace in terms of, and you think about this too. I've just been stuck watching all the Yellowstone episodes from 1883, 1923, and Yellowstone. So I was thinking, like, in the first Yellowstone, they're all bartering. I mean, money really isn't around since the early 19th. So it's only been around 100 years, how we deal with money. In the grand scheme of things, that's not a long period of time. So how are we all supposed to be money experts? It's impossible. So it's very difficult to feel like you have control of money. So back to the crux of everything is just to keep it simple. Pay yourself first. Don't spend more than you make, and the rest is just, you inherently know that. And I can go deeper into it, but I think the biggest takeaway is just that money is more about how you behave than what it is you think you know or don't know.
I love that. I love that. And something that you said too is, it's funny, you were like 98% of my job is like the psychology piece of it. And that's, I think, when CRNAs, you get in because like you want to intubate and you want to do the skills and you want to do all the things. But so much of our job, guys, like newsflash right here, is psychology of dealing with people, like not money, but dealing with people and dealing with different personalities. And so much of it is how you think about things, how you approach your circumstances, and that's going to lead into how you behave. And so money is no different. It's how you think about it. It's how you, which is going to then affect how you behave with money, and not spending what you don't have. And like, yeah, queen of doing that over here. Oh, I'll figure it out later. Oh, it's fine, and then all of a sudden
Right.
you've got this credit card debt. Yeah, I was really, extremely bad, extremely not good with money in my 20s. And honestly, in the last couple years, I had to, that grace piece you talk about, I had to really forgive myself. I had to accept my choices back then, forgive myself, just have compassion on, I did the best that I could with who I was back then, and I'm still going to be okay now. But I really had to kind of go backwards and just forgive myself essentially for that. Because like, oh, well, I could have had more here. I could have had, well, coulda, woulda, shoulda. I didn't, but I'm here now and I can only move forward now.
Sure.
What would some of your advice be, kind of thinking about it, of somebody like myself. So let's say I came to you as a client,
Yep.
20s, I kind of blew all my money. I blew my
Yep.
savings before school. Now I'm 6 figures in debt. I'm done with CRNA school. I'm starting my job. I just secured a 50K sign-on bonus. My
Mm-hmm.
salary will say is like, I don't know, 220 a year. Like, what would your advice be for me? Can I buy the house? Can I buy the fancy car? Can I have the big wedding?
Okay.
What should I
So,
do?
all right. So I'll answer this. Go with me here for a second. So I'm going to do this on purpose. So I say,
Yes.
okay, let's pretend we're sitting in my office and you just said exactly what you just said. I would say, my question to you, Amanda, would be, what's important about money to you?
Oh man. Well, right now, just having it, because I haven't had any money for 3 years. So just having like money and getting a paycheck is so exciting and so important to me that
Okay.
I almost want something to show for it now. I want to
Okay.
reward myself.
Okay. So having money and be able to reward yourself, that can mean different things to you versus me. So what's important about having money and being able to reward yourself to you?
I think that freedom piece, the ability to travel. Um, for me, I do like luxurious things. Just for me alone, I like having nice things. I like working hard. But I think the freedom to live the life that I dreamed of when I signed up for CRNA school.
Okay. And let's kind of fast forward. Let's pretend you're there. Let's pretend you are at a place with money where you feel like you have freedom. You feel like you've got that life you've been dreaming of. You're already there. What's a word or two you're thinking or feeling now that you're there?
Wow. I guess, is this it? Like, is this enough? Is this it?
Okay, that's interesting. Okay. So tell me, is this enough? What's important about having enough to you?
Important about having enough. I guess for me, enough is paying my bills, being able to um, invest money, have 6 months in savings, if not more, and provide for my kids experiences, like provide for them life experiences, and being able to build wealth for them, whether through Roths or accounts and then really working 2 to 3 days a week and traveling when I want.
Okay. So I'm just curious, kind of that building wealth, having that work a couple days a week, talking about your children. What's important about having that wealth to you?
I guess being secure, like that security piece, like for myself, like being able to be financially secure, just me by myself is
Okay.
important.
Okay. So if we could, Amanda, come up with like a strategy that would help you build that wealth, make you feel secure, and give you that sense of freedom, would that be okay with you?
I would love that.
You would love that?
Yes.
Okay. So you talked about student loan. You talked about the house that you wanted to buy.
Mm-hmm.
And was there a third? Forgive me.
Car and a big
Correct.
fancy wedding.
Okay. So we've got these new monies now. We've got this new paying job. Um, how would you prioritize those three
Man,
in terms of
I'd
which
probably,
is most important to you?
I'd probably say house first, like have somewhere to live. That'd be important, especially coming out of a nasty studio apartment for
Okay.
3 years. I guess I would say house. Um, then maybe, God, that's hard. Wedding, travel, and then car.
Okay. What about student loan?
Oh, That's like least on my priority list.
Okay. But let's say we got the house, we got the car. Is that going to make you feel like you've built wealth and feel secure?
No, it's going to just look good and feel
Okay.
good, but it's not. No, it's not.
So we did a little role play there. And so that's the
Love it.
crux of kind of the behavior start is to, and that's why I kept going deeper and deeper and deeper.
I love it.
There's some reason, and I would personally take it further. Like, what's so important about building wealth to you? Like, did you not grow up with wealth, or I saw my parents struggle? You have some internal desire to have that sense of security or building wealth. I don't know what that is yet. So you have some internal desire. And so then what we do is we take that, and you just take that and then you say, okay, well, which of these decisions, we were talking about school, we were talking about buying a home, which would those most align with that feeling? And through further conversation, I would get to you that if the house is your number one, well, then there's a second part of that is, okay, back to the 50, 30, 20, which can we afford backing out the math? You make X amount of dollars. I got to break it up 50, 30, 20 because you said you wanted security and for all the reasons that are important to you. Well, then how much house can we afford? Is that the dream house, quote unquote, that you wanted?
Yeah.
All of which to say, there's no right or wrong answer. You can do whatever you want. It's just, why are you making the choices that you are? Are you buying useless plastic crap, or are you making something that's getting you closer to those things that you said was important to you? And so I would say, done more properly, if you got to your heart, so a lot of those things that you said, Amanda, probably aren't that important to you. At the end of the day, it's your child, it's your having security at your home. So I would focus around that. So you take anybody in that same type of role play and you do the same things. It's just, what's important to you. And then you figure that out. You go back to the 50, 30, 20, and then you just try to apply the money that way. Again, I'm just trying to keep things simple.
Yes.
If you do that, there's nuance to it. Yeah, the percentages will be screwed up first. And if you pay yourself first, which is a whole nother topic, you will be successful. You will be financially independent.
I love that. And I like that because I was trying to think back like, oh man, because it's so, me who I am today as a mother is so different than who I was at 30 and, because that was me. I was like, I do want the house and I want the wedding and I got the man and he bought me a car for wedding. You know what I mean? Like my priorities were very different. And I think just, getting just vulnerable here with you guys and just being real with everybody is you do have to check your motives. And I think in my 20s, what got me in trouble is I kept chasing like better and more. And like I kept thinking, oh, if I just have more money and I make more this and I do that. And I just ended up being so burnt out. Fast forward now, what is really important? Is it the big fancy house? Is it the fancy, you know what I mean? Is that really important? And no, it's not. What I really want to focus now on at this part of my life is traveling with my family and my parents and my children, being able to give. I was raised, my dad, raised us always give. Like he always spent less than he made. Mm-hmm. And he always gave, and I want very much so to do that. And so I've completely shifted. So I just want y'all to notice too, as you're, nearing the end of CRNA school, if you're thinking about it, really think, what is your priorities? Why do you want that 6-figure income? Why is that so important to you? What are you going to do with that? How are you going to handle your money? I think that is so key to think about, or else you're going to get out and get this big job and get these sign-on bonuses. And then there's all this locums work. But like, what are you going to do with all that money? Like really think about that. And that kind of goes to, I get asked all the time, what job should I choose? Well, and I say the same thing you do. What are your priorities right now? What do you want? Do you want autonomy? Is it location? Is it the money? Is it the benefits? You know what I mean? Like and I think the same thing. I love that what you just did right there is like, you're just getting to know us and what's important to us. And you guys can build wealth build money, manage your money around 50, 30, 20 and what's kind of important to you.
Yeah.
So I just hope you guys can all kind of hear that. And one quick thing too, I'm going to say,
Yeah.
getting through school is not going to be, money is not going to be the driving reason why you get through school. I'll tell you that right now. School is challenging and it is hard. And if you think the money is going to motivate you to get through school, it is not. You've got to go deeper into why
Right.
you are doing this profession and this career.
Right.
You were going to say something, Brett?
No, I was just going to say, and that's what also attracted me to CRNAs so much, and why I think I work so well with them is, you do your own pre-op assessment. You've got a patient, you've got to figure out, okay, well, what's the right thing for this patient? I'm not just going to go in and prescribe you something, a solution. You have to understand what's happening with the patient. What's their age? What's their weight? What's happening today? So it's money is the exact same thing. It has nothing to, again, I started with what's important about money to you. I didn't ask you how much you had, or I wasn't going to do some equation, because again, it's all about just how you behave around money. The technical side is the easy. So it has nothing to do with what you know or don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's
I love
important.
that. That is so true. Yes. What is important? And even as some of you guys are drowning in applications, or you've been rejected, or you're in like the throes of CRNA school, just come back to what's important. What's important? Why are you here? And really at the end of the day, I believe all nurses and even you and what you're doing, like we all have a heart for service. And I think when you dedicate to showing up in service and in adding value, like that's where the magic is. Like that's how you build a career you want. The money is going to come, but right now it's about service and value and really digging into why this is the career you want. And I think that's just so crucial. And I wish somebody would have told me that, or maybe someone did tell me that, was I in my 20s, but I was not hearing any of that at all. Another quick question for you, or just a couple more questions and we'll wrap up here.
Sure.
Is I get asked this all the time and I never really have a concrete answer. Is everyone asks, what's the magic number I should have saved before CRNA school? And I'm like, well, it depends on your circumstances. So can you speak to that at all? Because I don't really think there's a magic number.
That I am a proponent of, again, it's all, you're not going to like this answer. It depends. It depends on the person. But I am a proponent of borrowing money when it can do a couple things for you. So like borrowing money for your home. Well, it's giving you the home that you want, and it will appreciate. So it's okay to borrow money for anything that appreciates in value. Borrowing money to buy a boat, bad decision, depreciates. Now you can do this for your business. You can borrow money to grow your business, or you can do this for school. You can borrow money to go to school. You are an appreciating asset. So I am a fan of borrowing the money for that. So therefore, in theory, you would need less saved. Now, again, there's nuance to that, because some people having that debt makes them feel insecure or gives them fear, and that's not a good thing then to borrow more. Borrowing somebody else's money at a relatively low interest rate to get your ability to earn 20, 40% more than a RN, that's going to pay off later. So, I know it depends on where you want to go. It depends on all the like and what it costs in that area. And then, the beautiful thing about student loans too is you've got longer term for which to pay it back. So I still think, again, back to that 50, 30, 20, enough that even if you do backward math, I would probably say, okay, I think I'm going to make X amount of dollars when I graduate. And my loans, can I pay my loans and do the things that I want to do? And can I cover all of the loans and some other credit card debt and stuff in that 20%? Does that make sense? Or can I live off of the other 80%? So I maybe back into that number and say, okay, well, I know I can afford $250 a month. So that's a loan that equates to X. So I kind of would back into that number, but still using that 50, 30, 20 mindset.
And I think that's like the think that's the answer that SRNAs hear all the time is it depends. Like in school, every answer
Yeah,
is like, well, it depends. You know, we always want some clean, crystal clear answer, and it really does just depend on your situation. But I love that you said about backing into it. Let's look at like worst case scenario, what's kind of the lowest salary you could have with no bonuses or anything like that. And then what would that look like moving forward? And you guys can
right.
do this now in school to kind of start thinking about that and kind of planning. But I overall just, it's okay. I guys, I'm still paying off my student loan debt
Sure.
from anesthesia school because I did
Yep.
choose to get married, buy the house, get the car. Like that's what I did at that point, and I am still paying
Yep.
back my debt, right? That's what I've done. A lot of people will live simply, start just chipping away at that debt because they just want it to go away. What is your priority? What do you want to do? There's just no right or wrong way to do
Right.
this. But I do think it's really important to early on get a financial planner.
Ones you can just hire for the hour. It doesn't have to be expensive. You can get, nobody needs a financial advisor really when they're 25 on, paying them thousands and
Yeah,
thousands of dollars a year. But that's the beauty
it's
of
true.
the advisor world today is you can hire them for a flat fee. If it costs you $500 to help somebody back into that number, well, that's worth it in gold for you over time. Again, as long as you stick with the plan. So yeah, and I can send you those resources if you want, Amanda. So
Yes, please. I can definitely get those posted. And I like what you said too is, you don't have to have like, pay thousands for a CFP or anything as a nurse, but like have a conversation or have a quick hour, have a conversation with that. There's ways to do that. And honestly, take the 50, 30, 20 and, make that work.
yeah.
So last question for you here, Brett, is so you've obviously worked with a lot, working with a lot of CRNAs. What would kind of be, I don't know, just like a big umbrella piece of advice or like a common theme or problem you see with us? And like, what would your piece of advice be?
I would say, well, it's not with you being the CRNAs. I would say it's with our tax system and with the way our retirement system is set up for presently. So again, very similarly, the way most of our retirement system is set up today only came into it. So you hear like 401ks or 403bs. Those only came into play in the late 1980s. And you also hear about Roth versus traditional Roth, which I can explain real quick, only came into existence in 1998. So all this is relatively new. And that's 95% of how our retirement system works for CRNAs presently. So what I mean by that is, okay, you've gotten through CRNA school and you're managing your debt and you're able to now start saving for retirement. The problem is that we have a system where most people put monies into retirement pre-tax, which seems like a really good thing. But if you do that for 30, 40-year career and you have $1 million, let's say at 65, well, that $1 million is going to continue to grow. But what happens is eventually there's what's called required minimum distributions. And this is a long way away for students, but eventually you have to take out your monies at age 73 and you have to pay tax. So long story short is we are seeing CRNAs in their 60s and 70s paying more tax in their 70s than they did in their 40s and 50s because they put in all these monies pre-tax. These accounts have grown very big, but now they've got these huge tax bills. So what's the fix to that? And the big takeaway, I would say, until you make, I would say, $150,000 as you're single or $250,000 if you're married. When it comes to retirement, save in Roth. So you have one or two ways to save. You can do it traditional, which is pre-tax, or you can do it Roth, which is post-tax. Now, the beauty with Roth is that you put in after-tax monies today, but whatever that grows to that same million, there are no required minimum distributions, meaning the government does not come and say, we want you to start giving us tax money later because you paid tax up front. And so mathematically, it makes more sense for you to pay the tax now and put all of any retirement monies into Roth. That can be in an IRA, that can be in a 403b in your hospital, that can be in a 401k with your employer. So it's already there. But just don't blindly take the traditional, put it in the Roth.
Ooh, that is so helpful. I hope you guys wrote notes on that. This whole thing, this has been like, Brett, this has been amazing. Like, I know everyone has taken away so many gems and have so much to think about now. Like, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. That was really
Sure.
beautifully put. I really appreciate it. So let us know, how can our CRNAs, those of you that are graduating and newly CRNAs, like, Brett is ready, waiting to help you to figure out, kind of like we did that little role play there, helping you figure out your story and what you want and your priorities and being able to do that.
Our website, oakcapitaladvisor.com, and everything is kind of there, but any social media links is at MoneyRx for CRNAs. So Instagram or YouTube, and our podcast is MoneyRx for CRNAs, wherever you listen to podcasts. So we've got a lot of free content too you can download. We've got an ebook basically, which is like a financial planning light. It's about 15 pages long that kind of goes through everything we talked about. Feel free to download that if you'd like. But at MoneyRx for CRNAs, that is our main handle, and you can get us there.
All right, perfect. Well, I will be sending everybody your way. Thank you so much again for not only having me on your podcast, but taking time out of your day to be on the Mindful SRNA. And I will link everything below. And happy financing out there, y'all. Like, I hope you took away from anything how it can be simple, and you will be okay. Like, you are going to be okay no matter where you are at financially. Okay. All right. You guys got this. Have an awesome rest of your day. And thank you so much, Brett.
Have a great day. Thank you.